Hi everyone. I think after a couple of technical difficulties, we're all good now. So I'm excited to have Petronella McGovern joining me. Hi, Petronella.
Hello, Jackie. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here.
So I've spoken to Petronella a few times, so great to have you back again. And also want to mention to everyone as well that you are an associated author of Global Girls Online Book Club. I enjoy seeing the posts you share in our group too. And you also recently joined us for Father's Day, which was great as well.
Yeah, Jackie and I were just talking about how lovely the comments were about Father's Day and particularly memories from people about their
Mm.
dads who are not around anymore. So it was
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah, there were some great memories and
Mm,
photos that were shared by lots of people.
yeah.
So before we start talking about Petronella's new book, just a little bit about her. Petronella's books have been described as domestic noir and psychological suspense. With strong characters and gripping storylines, her novels will keep you reading and guessing late into the night. Petronella grew up in a large family on a farm in the central west region of New South Wales. After travelling and working in Canberra for a number of years, she now lives in Sydney's northern beaches with her husband and their two teenagers. Sorry.
Yeah, one of each.
My screen suddenly disappeared, so I had to guess what it was going to say. Petronella's best-selling debut novel, 6 Minutes, was shortlisted for the Australian Crime Writers Association's Ned Kelly Awards and longlisted for the Australian Independent Booksellers Indie Book Awards. Her second novel, The Good Teacher, was longlisted for the David Awards, and The Liars is her third book. And I can see your
Oh,
big
yes, my
poster
poster.
there in the back, and I've got my copy here, and you've got your
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah.
Also, want to mention to people watching that thanks to Alan and Unwin, if people ask a question, you just need to type it in comments. You'll have a chance to win a copy of The Liars. So
Excellent.
thanks so much for joining us. I also want to say I've read your first two books and really love them, and read The Liars now and love that too. So
Thank you,
thanks
Jackie.
for
Thank you.
writing all these books for
Oh,
us.
thank you so much.
And I think in the intro it said about how the books that keep you up at night wanting to find out what happened. I totally agree with that.
Thank you.
So do you want to start by telling us a bit about The Liars?
Yes, I will. And first, I'll just tell you, I'm on Gadigal land here, which is where I live and work and write. And so I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the Gadigal people and the Eora Nation, where I am. So The Liars, yes, that's my third book, as Jackie said. It's set in Kinton Bay, which is a seaside town, which is just bouncing back after the bushfires and the floods and the pandemic, and the tourists are finally returning and the town's sort of getting back on its feet. And then a local teenage girl, Sienna, finds a skull in a national park. She thinks it's related to a history assignment that she's doing, which is about an Aboriginal massacre by the town founder back in colonial days in 1800s. And no one wants to talk about this history of the town. So she does this video, puts it on her YouTube, sends it to the national media, and it goes viral. And it's on the TV news that night. And the town is instantly divided about what they think, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. In the meantime, her mum, who's a local journalist, thinks actually this skull might be related to a schoolmate who went missing in the 1990s, because in the national park is a place called the Killing Cave where they had teenage parties which often went badly wrong. And a schoolmate of theirs went missing and has never turned up again. So she thinks it's related to this boy. The police start to investigate, and the family, the town, the community have to work out who's telling the truth and who are the liars.
No, that's a great summary.
There's a lot of different parts. It's
Yeah,
quite
there
hard
are
to.
a lot of parts all like come together in the end, and yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of people watching, which is really, really great. So just
Oh, lovely.
reminding again the people watching that thanks to Ellen and Unwin, if you want your own copy of The Liars, type a question for Petronella and you'll have a chance to win a copy. Kelly said she loved your previous two books. Do you know all your twists before you start writing?
I have for these three books, and I did for The Liars.
Okay.
But for the new book that I'm writing now, I sort of knew one twist, but then I didn't know who done it, and I was in a bad panic. But I think I've worked it out. I think I've just worked it out.
Okay, that's good. But that's a bit different there, a bit harder then if it's different than your first three that you already knew.
Yes, yeah, because and often you're riding along. If you know the twist, you know where you're going. But when you don't, when you're sort of thinking, should it go this way or that way, it's sort of trickier.
And Kim says she's seen some great reviews for The Liars. She wonders how you got your inspiration for the book.
Thank you. Yes, there's lots of early reviews. It's such a relief. It's so nervous when you write a book and you're putting it out in the world and you're not sure, what people will think. So there's been some really wonderful reviews, and I've appreciated everyone who's read it so quickly and put reviews out there. As I said, there's a few different strands in the book, so there's a few different ideas that came together. But one of the main things was when my daughter turned 15 a couple of years ago, and she said, "Oh, can I go to this teenage party?" And I was like, "Oh, it's suddenly, And I thought back to my teenage years, and I thought, "Oh, girls are treated with more respect now. It's not so bad." And then, of course, she told me a few things, and I went, And then this must have been like December 2020. And then all the stuff came out in the paper about Chanel Contos's survey in the eastern suburbs schools in Sydney about sexual assault at teenage parties. Then we had Brittany Higgins in Parliament, and then we were marching for justice for women again. And I went, oh, it hasn't quite changed how I'd imagined. And so originally I was going to write a book about something that happened to a mother at 15, and now her daughter is the same age, and it's bringing everything back. But it's it's different from mother to daughter. But then as everything sort of started happening, I went, no, it hasn't changed. And so now I've written about parallels. So there's three different timelines, and there's parallels across these three different timelines, which is sad to have history repeating itself over and over again.
And what about when you were at high school? Were there any?
Well, I was a good girl, but anyway. There was this one time my friend and I were up at Southwest Rocks up on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, and we'd heard about this party on the beach, so we went down, and we were on a family holiday, so my parents and her parents were both there, and we got to this party at the beach. It was very exciting. A bonfire, boys, the whole lot. And so we joined the party, but then we started to realise all the boys were about 25 and we were 15, and we were a bit like out of our depth completely. And we couldn't work out how to get away from this situation. And we were still, we were there for a while, and we're like, how do we get out of this? And then I hear this voice along the shoreline, this disembodied voice going, Petronella, in the darkness. Petronella, where are you? And my mum had come to rescue me. So normally, as a 15-year-old, you're very embarrassed to have your mum turning up at a party. But we were just so relieved that she got us out of these what to us were old men, We finally got out.
Yeah, at least it had a good ending.
Yes, we were saved by Mum.
And Sharon wonders how much research you did for the book.
I did a lot of research. A lot of it was online or talking to people on the phone, because I wrote a lot during the pandemic and lockdown. I have this sort of sub-story about whales, because the dad, Rolo, has a whale watching cruise. And I've been whale watching before, but I wanted to go this time with to look really at the whales, but also at the captain and the boat, and because this character runs his own boat. And I think it took me 2 years to get on this whale watching cruise.
Oh, okay.
Because first it was weather, then it was lockdown, then it was weather, then it was lockdown. So I finally did get to go. So that was good.
And whereabouts did you do that?
Oh, that was outside Sydney Harbour. So
that
was
okay,
lovely.
yeah.
It was, but it was, I say, lovely. It was winter, freezing. We had vertical rain, horizontal rain coming across.
But you saw some whales.
Sorry?
But you saw some whales, though?
Yes, we did. And other times I've been, I haven't seen the full breach. And this time we saw, like that photo I put on yesterday, the full breach. It was amazing. It was really wonderful. Yeah.
And Wendy wonders if you had any say in the book title.
Yeah, so I had a different title originally. And then they often say, we think that's not going to quite work. Have you got another idea? And normally I brainstorm with a couple of friends and I come up with, 150 titles. And then I'll go back to them with 5. They'll sort of come back to me. So this, I think I said to them something about the lying season and they came back with the liars. So it's sort of a conversation about what's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did previously mention this a little bit. Jill's wondering about your next book.
Yes, well, I'm working on it, and now I know who done it, so it's good. So it'll be out this time next year. It's about siblings and a cold case and DNA. So it
sounds interesting. And Jill wonders if you have a regular writing routine.
Yeah, I find that waking up early and writing in the morning is really best, like at 6 o'clock or 6:30. I'm not a morning person, but that's when my brain is the clearest and the most creative. So I usually get up early, write for an hour, then do the kids, do the family, and come back to it later on. But if I just get that early morning in, even if I just write 300 words, it sort of sets me up for the day. So it's really good. Yeah.
And Sharon wonders what you like to read and if maybe you've got something you want to recommend to us.
Oh, I always think that's like choosing my favourite child at the moment because there's so many great books out there.
Yeah, there are, aren't there?
I do like domestic thriller, crime thrillers, psychological thrillers. That's really my favourite, and there's been so many great books just recently. Australian crime, Dirt Town by Hayley Scribner, Wake by Shelley Burr, James Mackenzie Watson's Denison, all amazing books. An American English, I don't know what she is, American or English writer who this book's really stayed with me, is The Last House on Needless Street.
Oh, yes, yeah. I haven't read it, but I've seen that one.
Oh, I've forgotten her name.
Yeah. I've heard good things about it.
Escaped me. The Last House on Needless Street.
It's a little bit scary. Is it quite scary, that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
scary.
What I've heard. Yeah.
But you don't need to go American or English. We've got plenty of it. Oh, sorry. Yes, you do. Anyway, there's lots of great
it's by is it Katrina Ward?
Yes. Katrina Ward.
Ward,
yes. Yeah. And just talking about crime, Jackie and I were saying before about in Sydney, there's the Bad Sydney Crime Festival this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And some of the sessions are live streamed as well if you're not in Sydney. And I'm talking on Friday, but there's lots of great sessions. So
yeah,
if you're interested in crime.
Yeah, there are certainly some good ones there. And I'm looking forward to going to some on Saturday. And I think you're also involved as well in the Northern Beaches Readers Festival, aren't you? Which isn't that's only a couple of weeks away as well.
So that's the 24th, 25th of September up in Avalon in Sydney.
Yeah. No,
when I'm going to meet Jackie for the first time in person.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, to finally meet you. And when you were mentioning those books as well, like you mentioned Wake and Dirt Town, they're ones that we have just recently picked as well in our monthly book club reads. And
Oh,
also The
fantastic.
Liars is one of our books that we're going
Oh,
to read as
fantastic.
well. So that's
That's
really
great.
exciting. Kelly wonders who has been your favourite character in all of your books? That's a
Oh,
bit of a
wow,
tricky
Kelly. That's an
question.
interesting question.
Mm.
Wow. Hmm. I think again, it's like choosing a favourite child, isn't it? Oh.
Well, I could ask you another question instead of who's your favourite. If you wanted to choose one of them to be for a day, who would you choose and why?
Oh, gosh, that's a question. Wow. Well, I might choose Sienna, the teenager in The Liars, because I just love her passion and determination,
Mm,
and she's a real activist about social issues, and she's got that passion to change the world. She doesn't always get it right. That's the downside. But if it's just for a day, that'll be fine.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, she certainly does have some great passion and wants to try and do right to wrongs that have been done
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
past as well, doesn't she?
yeah.
Jill wonders if you've always wanted to be an author.
I have, yes. Well, I've always been a reader, and I've always read since I was very young. And I think my mum read to me, and she loved reading. And I was the one, reading under the covers with the torchlight, and could never put a book down. So when I was younger, I think I tried to write things like The Famous Five and The Secret Seven.
Mm,
But I grew up on a farm, and we didn't really have any exciting mysteries to write about, except why did the cow get through the fence? Or so I wrote stories about um, aliens arriving from outer space
yeah.
on the middle of the farm. So that was,
Mm,
but yes, I've always wanted to write. But I thought I should get a proper job first. I think that's what took me a bit longer.
mm.
I thought I needed a job that actually paid money first.
So what was the first job that you had?
So I did do communications. So I was always writing, but more
Mm,
in sort of marketing and communications and journalism. Yeah,
mm, mm. So
yeah.
when you were writing your stories when you were a child, did you have someone you shared them with?
I think I made everybody read them.
Yeah, you did.
And I recently found, it's upstairs, so I can't get it. But it was just it was like a book that you bought, and then you could make the story and stick things in it and do pictures or stickers.
Mm.
And on the back, I'd written, this book was written in 24 hours.
Oh.
And I thought, I wish we could do that. Not I don't wish we could write. It just takes so long to write a book.
Yeah.
To see this little handwriting that said, this book was written in 24 hours.
No, I love that. Belinda says she's loved each of your books. Each one has kept me guessing right up till the end. Especially love the whale facts and how they run concurrently with the developing story. She wonders how much research you did in regards to the Aboriginal culture and protocols.
Yeah, thanks, Belinda. I did a lot. I spoke to quite a few people. I did a lot of research online, and the Australian Society of Authors has guidelines about writing Aboriginal storylines.
Mm,
And to make it clear, I'm not writing from an Aboriginal perspective. It's from a white perspective about telling history and who tells history.
mm,
And the Australian Institute at CIS, Torres Strait Islanders studies. Yeah, so there's a number of different books. I've listened to talks by Melissa Lukashenko and some other Aboriginal authors, and read a lot of Aboriginal authors too. There's some amazing books out there.
mm,
And we've had Anita Heiss on before. She writes,
mm,
incredible books. Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Jess says she's so excited for this chat. What advice would you give to anyone starting out on their author writing career?
Oh, thank you, Jess. I always think reading is the first thing, really, absolutely always reading. And I think then reading critically and looking at what makes a book work, what you like in a book, what makes it work, and what doesn't make it work for you as a reader. And I think that's really, really helpful. I also like writing groups or being part of a writing course where you can get feedback from other people, because I think when you're writing alone, you don't know how a reader will interpret it. So, I've written this story. I don't know how you're going to read it, Jackie. And, you bring your imagination. A reader's not a passive person.
Yeah.
So, everyone brings it. So just to have someone else read it and see what's missing, or if you need more, more clues or more character motivation or what it is that you need in there.
And Kelly wonders if you have an author who inspires you to write in this genre.
But maybe, I did love Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl. That was really, I think that was quite groundbreaking for a lot of us authors. But there are so many, and I grew up reading Agatha Christie and Stephen King, and so I've always liked fast-paced mysteries, whether it's whether it's real crime or domestic noir, or and I love Leanne Moriarty's books. She's amazing.
Yeah. And Belinda wonders how you choose your characters' names.
Yeah, it's a real challenge choosing names. And so with The Good Teacher, my main character was called Jenny, and she really felt like a Jenny. And then my sister said, "You can't call her Jenny, that's our cousin." And I went, "Oh, but that's like..." So I think names are really important. I do Google a lot. I Google a lot of I have a baby naming book, and I Google names, and I don't know how Rollo. And in the book, I never say what Rollo's real name is, which really annoys my son. So he's called Rollo because he's very good at rolling cigarettes when he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, and often I have to change names because I try not to have similar names so that readers not confused.
Yeah.
I don't think that answered the question at all, Belinda. But
and do you avoid names from past books?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And could you tell us? Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a minute. When you first had your first book published, how hard or easy was that for you?
How hard was it to get published? It took me
your very first book.
It took a long time. So I'd written a book before that, which nearly got published and then didn't.
Okay.
And I think I was working full time and had kids, but I'd sort of been working on that for 10 years. And then 6 Minutes I was probably working on for about 6 years. And I'd written non-fiction books which had got published. But I just couldn't seem to get the right person for the novel. It was difficult to get published, and then I got in touch with an agent who actually Burr Carroll's agent. She put me in touch with him, and I think really he was going overseas, and I think really he just was trying to be nice to Burr and said, "Okay, I'll have a quick look," and I think he was going to have a quick look and say no thanks, and then he rang the next day and said, "I've been awake all night. I'm going away. I'm going overseas next week, and now I've got all this work to do." So it was just finding, I guess, the right person who loved it, and then could get it through too. And I mean, other people don't have agents and manage to get published, but I just couldn't seem to break through. So,
Yeah. And Polly wonders if you'd ever go back to that first book that wasn't published and rework it.
I did. I did look at it last year, and I think the thing about it, I mean, it's sort of it's set in 2000, I think, just after the Olympics in Sydney, But I think the thing about it is it's very slow. It's not fast paced. It's a much slower story, and it doesn't have a lot of subplots. So I think I could probably take some of the characters and use them. But I always think the TV show West Wing changed storytelling, because everything, it seems so much more fast paced, and you've got a lot more, subplots and stories going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And that book's a bit slow. It's beautiful, but a bit slow.
The same sort of genre.
Yeah, but a lot slower.
Yeah. And talking about characters, have you ever thought to maybe have some of the characters pop up in a future book?
Well, I thought about it for 6 minutes, because I really like the detective Caruso. I really liked him. There's a character I was. Maybe he was my favourite. And I did consider, moving him into another story, but I think my books are so based around a setting and a community. I like to write about a community, and I feel that community exists, by itself. And if I took another character, it's sort of, it's bleeding across different communities. Yeah.
And when you think about a successful writer, what does that mean to you?
Oh, well, firstly, books that are being read, sold and read. That's exciting. That's a hard question, because I think success means something different to everybody. I think for me, success would be having enough income to stop the other client work that I do. So I guess having enough income, selling enough books that you can, you don't have to do
to be a full-time writer.
Other work, yeah. And that not many authors in Australia manage to do that.
No.
We're too small a market, maybe in America, but yeah.
And have you thought about any of your books on TV or movies? Have you had anyone approach you?
Yeah, I've had some interest. So fingers crossed for this one, because I just think it would make a really good movie.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of really visual scenes, with the cave and the whales and a lot of the coastal imagery, that I think it would really be amazing. But yeah, I'll just keep writing books and see what happens.
Yeah. And what do you hope readers will love about your book?
Well, firstly, that they'll just be really hooked into it, like just be, like you say, that page turning, because that's what I love. I want a great page turner. I love it when a twist is not expected. So I'm hoping that most people won't guess it. And a few people have said, "Oh, I guessed it," but 2/3 of the way in, and I'm like, well, that's fine. You can guess it 2/3 of the way in. That's fine. And I guess with this book, I wanted people to think about our history and to think about our hidden history that we don't discuss, and how we can perhaps change history on various levels. And I guess, Sienna and her teacher, they're talking about history is written by the victors. And in this situation, it's really the white men who are telling the stories in town, and the women and the Aboriginal community are not getting heard. Their stories aren't listened to. So I guess, yeah. Anyway, no, I just want you to have a great read. That's most important.
Yeah. And it might be a bit early for lots of readers' feedback, but have you had any feedback from this book that you'd like to share with us?
I've had some really lovely, like I've had quite a few reviews, which have been amazing, and then I've had personal messages from some people, and from a couple of Indigenous people who said they really appreciated how sensitively I'd written the story and how important it was for all of us to be talking about these issues. And so that was, that I was a bit nervous. So that was really nice to hear that. And I think, a few people have just said they've loved the mystery of it, but also that it's very thought provoking. But there's, there's a lot to think about as you're reading it. It's an easy read. It's not, you think about some things. I
Yeah,
think that's
it
all.
certainly does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kim wonders if being an author has lived up to your expectations.
What a great question, Kim. Do you know what? It's the best because you don't realize what a lovely supportive group. I don't know what's the word. Like you're at home writing by yourself, and when you finally get to go to festivals or book launches or whatever, it's just such a lovely, warm, supportive community. And the publishers are very supportive. Everyone is so nice. So yeah, it really has. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me, and really looking forward to meeting you soon, and looking forward to having the Liars as our monthly book club next year, for one of our months next year, and hope to discuss it in a little bit more detail and maybe some spoilers when we have our discussions, which will be good. And by then, I'm sure everyone would have read it by then.
Yeah. Well, it's been lovely. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll choose a winner at some point.
Yeah. And thanks. We had lots of great questions, which was really good as well. So thanks, everyone, for that. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.